Hey guys, OFSREagle here, bringing you a brand new video today. Today I am bringing you a new series. It's something I've been wanting to do, but I wanted to get the few videos of my go-to skill jumps out first. I'm not done with those. I still have, like Coliseum, Eden, and a bunch of others still waiting to be made, and I'm still going to continue with that. But this series is going to be not focusing on skill jumps, but rather the reason why skill jumps are used, and that's movement, overall map movement, awareness, and just navigation. And I've touched on a few aspects of that a little bit in the skill jump, my go-to skill jumps, but this is going to be shying more away from the skill jumps and more about just map usage and everything. And the reason why I want to do that is because I'm a fairly good map navigator in my own opinion, and just overall, just in comparison, I move just really well, and it's come very naturally to me. So I wanted to share some of the tips and tricks that really make sense to me in my head, so hopefully they help you. I always, ever since I started Halo, I kind of view it in tiers of different skill levels, and I feel like map awareness and navigation can just really set you a level above, a bar above, however you want to call it. So since this is the first one, I'm going to actually go over the mechanics, the base mechanics of advanced movement, so to speak. I'm sure you all have seen Nova's videos and how he's introduced some certain aspects and different skill jumps. This video will be focusing on basically the two main traits that really allow opportunities for excellent navigation and map movement, and it will also kind of be the precursor to all the other videos in this series, where I will be going over each individual map and different map routes. It really won't be like skill jumps specifically, but just basically the bigger picture of when I'm in this situation, this is what I see. I'll give examples, stuff like that. So for right now, this video, we're just doing the mechanics. Also, at the end of this video, I actually have a little surprise on Truth. Even though this is in Plaza, I have a Truth jump that I recently found and kind of made my own. It's actually something I didn't technically create. I think Diversity or Bubba, I believe Diversity did a type of it, but I found something that in my opinion is way more effective, way more reliable, way more consistent, and way more useful in competitive play. And so stick around to the end, and I'll be happy to show you. For mechanics, for advanced movement and navigation and tips and all that, you see a lot of higher tier players do this thing called the thrust slide, which I'm sure most of you know. It's where you sprint, thrust, slide, jump, and then almost Gandhi hop if the situation calls for it. And the reason why it's so useful is because the physics in the game take friction into account, right? So if you are able to remove certain variables of friction, you can maintain a higher speed, a higher velocity for longer. The reason why I bring it up is because there are different variations of it. The base trait, if you would, is a sprint, thrust, slide, jump, and then you can stabilize into a Gandhi hop, right? And it allows you to get to certain places that normally weren't accessible. On this map, the most easy explanation is over here in Plaza to go to top gold. Even though there are many different ways to get there, you can literally just jump up, stabilize, and do that. But if you're already sprinting and you want to cover from here to there quick, it really just makes it really fast and really efficient. And it's something that over time you do without thinking. It's a great habit to have, and it's applicable in many maps. Now that's what 90% of people do, is just this, alright? And it's 90% of the time that's what you need. But like I said before, I think in my skill jump clinic series with Nova, the more tools you have at your disposal, the better. I'm going to show you a few variations with the thrust slide. The first one is something that a lot of people, I mentioned before in my go-to skill jumps on the rig. You can actually sprint, and instead of just being on a flat level, thrusting, sliding, and jumping, you can actually jump, and then as soon as you hit the ground, pick up where you left off with your sprint, thrust, slide. And it may seem kind of pointless, like, okay, I'm just jumping, thrust, sliding. The one thing to remember is you are in the air, so the friction is removed, but also, even though you are slowing down a tiny bit, it actually gives you more options for directions of where to go. I could be at a full sprint, and let's say I wanted to go this way. I'd have to turn and do the thrust slide, and you see this angle I took, right? That's, you know, in a quick scenario, that's the best I could do. But if I jump right before the corner, I can actually make the angle at which I perform the thrust slide much harsher, a much more closer to a perpendicular line than a parallel. And the reason why I say this is because it allows for you to cut corners that normally you wouldn't be able to cut. And because you're doing the thrust slide, it's a fast escape. It's just something to know that there's a lot of things at your disposal that normally people don't realize. So I wanted to show you this this variation of the thrust slide because, for example, for some reason, I can go through here, do the thrust slide, right? And you see that I missed the top of that box on tram, right? But I've noticed if I do the jump thrust slide, so you have to be sprinting first, obviously. You sprint, jump, thrust slide, and then if I want, I can jump again and then turn the corner. It somehow makes it easier for me to hit angles normally I wouldn't be able to. Just that idea of being able to kind of have a brief second to purposefully direct the angle of your thrust slide can be really, really useful and helpful in different scenarios. And another reason why it's useful, you can actually cover a gap, right? Jump over a gap and still do the thrust slide. Normally, you'd have to do something like that, right? But if you do it right when you hit the ground, there might as well not be a gap in the flooring, right? And you can kind of go whatever angle you want. And so, to me, I found it to be really useful in different scenarios, especially kind of covering a gap. And the main reason why I use it so much is if I'm taking shots from somewhere and I jump, they don't expect a fast thrust slide. They may expect a strafe thrust, but not a quick getaway when I'm airborne like that. Just to be able to, you know, do something like that, and then if I wanted to clamber or completely fall down, you know, some stuff like that is just can really throw people for a loop and is really useful. I mean, just navigating from the garbage truck to here, you know, that was, and then changing my angle. If I'm taking shots right there, I mean, that it's just, it's something that's has so many applications, I can't put a limit to it. So I highly recommend, as I continue the series, mastering that, whether doing it on a side angle or just getting used to that. Let me jump. Oh, let me go this way. You know, whatever it may be. So another example of why it's so useful is that for, let's say you're at top gold and the enemy is at sniper, and or at cinema, and there, let's say you want to grab the sniper, or the enemy is getting a lot of pressure there, and you want to be able to navigate there quickly. From here, you can see just how useful that having just that little. Most people think of the thrust slide as a runway, and when you do the, I guess the jump first variation, I don't know, whatever you want to call it, it can it gives you more options for where you can perform this movement, and because you're doing the thrust slide, it always helps you go faster. So instead of just doing this, right, the thrust slide actually gets you to, let's say from point A to point B, being over on top of cinema stairs. And you don't need a long runway. I mean, if you see me, already I was at full sprint, I did the thrust slide, and I'm here. And also, when you do the thrust slide, it's a little bit harder to hit, to hit a Spartan as they're doing the thrust slide rather than sprinting in a straight line and jumping. So to me, it's just it has so many uses. Is that it's very valuable and just worth the time and effort to get used to it. Now, the next mechanic that I really want to go over, that I really think is really important to having a lot of opportunities for navigation and just being well versed in it, is called the extended Spartan charge. Recently, Proximity made a video explaining what it is, and it was a good video. Explained it perfectly fine. I just wanted to show you a few more applications that a lot of people kind of overlook. So if you don't know what an extended Spartan charge is, obviously you have to be a full sprint and then you hit the melee and you Spartan charge, right? And a lot of higher tier levels use it for mainly movement. It's basically an extra boost. You can boost, or I'll put it this way. You can be sprinting, Spartan charge, sprint, boost. Or you can do the boost right after the Spartan charge. Like that. And so it's almost can be considered an extra boost. You don't have, you aren't able to aim during, or shoot during the boost and all that, or during the Spartan charge. But it can actually aid you in navigation. And an extended Spartan charge, if you haven't seen Proximity's video, is this. So if you saw, I jumped, boost, and then I did a Spartan charge right after, without my feet even touching the ground. And the way you perform it is it's pretty simple. You have to be at a full sprint, and then you jump. And during the jump is when all these actions have to happen. It's when you're airborne without your feet touching the ground. Very important to remember. You're sprinting, jump, boost, press sprint again, Spartan charge, or melee. And I'll say it at the speed at which I do it. Jump, boost, sprint, melee. And that's an extended Spartan charge. And the reason why it's called extended is because normally when you boost, it takes away your sprint, right? An extended Spartan charge allows you to chain the two together. And the reason why it's so useful, I believe in Proximity pointed out in this video, you can, very similar to the thrust slide, you have control over the direction in which you do it. You can boost one way and then do a Spartan charge the next. Whether it be, at most it can be a 90-degree angle. So whether it be straight forward, 90 degrees to the right or left, you can do it. But if you go in any way backwards from the original forward momentum that you had, it won't work. So for example, I can't do a Spartan charge backwards. I can't do an extended Spartan charge backwards. I can do it as long as within that 180-degree radius in front of you, but you can't do it past the 180 degrees. So, for example, I could be here, right? And I can get through here just very quickly without being very vulnerable. Because in that Spartan charge, it's one of those intimidation factors that a lot of people, kind of get fearful of when they see a Spartan charge. They try to navigate away. Also, another application of it is you can not only hit a Spartan charge. So let's say someone's right there, right? And I want to do a Spartan charge. That was way too early, right? I wouldn't have hit them. I round a corner, and I did a, I don't know. I want a Spartan charge. I missed, right? If he throws a grenade, not only can I jump over it, boost, I can then hit the Spartan charge if I so desire. You can also do it at an angle. Let's say there's an enemy waiting right here for snipe, where you can round a corner without them even knowing that there's going to be a Spartan charge. Because normally, people see a Spartan charge, they normally see it coming because you have to sprint first, right? It's not like you can normally go around the corner and just hit a Spartan charge without them hearing it. But with that boost, I was completely silent for about 2 seconds. So there could be an enemy below me, right? That whole descent, I was completely silent. So if he's preoccupied with one of my teammates, he would have no indication besides the boost that a Spartan charge is coming his way. Normally people hear the sprint noise, and they, this game being as old as it is, people have become used to that being accompanied by the Spartan charge attack. Now for navigation purposes, it can really allow you to gain that extra little bit of ground over the enemy that people don't normally expect. So let's just say the enemy was over by hotel, right? And I want to pick up the sniper, or even the overshield, before the enemy. I'm going to first do the sniper, for example, first. Instead of me just boosting as fast as I could over to it, right? Doing that extended Spartan charge may get me that extra little bit of distance over the enemy that normally I wouldn't get. And here's the thing: if I see them out the corner of my eye, your brain can make some fast computations. They can see they might beat me to it. That Spartan charge may make up that difference, and you might be able to grab it. It's very useful for overshield. Now I'll show you two applications. Being able to sprint, Spartan charge, and then do the extended Spartan charge. I was able to turn at the last second and grab it because I did the extended Spartan charge, right? So to another person's point of view, I was only briefly over it. Normally people kind of camp it or bait it. And if I do that extended Spartan charge, it really does allow me to being there for the least amount of time as possible, right? If I wanted, I can sprint. Instead of me just doing that, I can then sprint, jump, do the extended Spartan charge. And notice this. If you notice with the Spartan charge, and I wanted to really point this out, this is why it's so useful in advanced movement. With the extended Spartan charge, as I was doing the Spartan charge, I was already turning my reticle towards where I wanted to look, right? So what that allowed me to do is assess that area of the map quickly while I was already making progress towards whatever goal I was trying to achieve, i.e. picking up the sniper, right? So I'm running extended Spartan charge. I'm already looking towards where I want to go. You can also, you don't have to chain the boost immediately after. You may even do something like this, where you can wait till you hit the ground and then do the Spartan charge. Again, this is a distance and timing maneuver. So let's say you did it too early, grab it, then you do the Spartan charge. And the reason why it works is I'm going to show you with overshield once it pops up here. You can actually, between the boost and the Spartan charge, you can activate X. So whether it be grabbing a power-up or power weapon, just like that. And what that allows me to do is normally when people grab the overshield on Plaza, they grab it here, right? So normally people are baiting here. But because I did the Spartan charge, I was actually over here. I basically did another boost through here. I did a boost to get there quickly, grab it, and then Spartan charge out of the way. And it really does kind of give you a safety net of being able to avoid some shots or whatever, or a grenade. It really is so useful. I wanted to explain those two core mechanics of the advanced delaying the thrust slide and the extended Spartan charge. And again, being able to boost and then do the Spartan charge in a different angle than before, and then it also allows you to check basically behind you. So my back is to the garbage truck, right? So if I'm sprinting, jump, boost, Spartan charge, I can already look over there as I'm still navigating away. So I wanted to show you guys just these, basically these two core traits and why they're so useful. And then as we continue the series, I'm going to show you how I apply those map routes, the skill jumps, the extended Spartan charge, the delayed thrust slide, whatever it may be. So I'm going to explain to you guys what I do, how I do things, what I found useful, and I thought it would be smart to get this out of the way so you guys know going in to have those those two traits down pretty well. That way it will make it easier for you to learn from the different map routes and tips I have in store for you. So with that, let's go ahead and move over to Truth. I know I promised a new skill jump that I don't think I've really seen, so let's get right into it. Okay, so on Truth, there is a jump that I recently found. It's a variation of something that I believe Diversity found or something like that, and it's obviously included in Nova's advanced skill jumps videos on Truth, and I'll link that video in the description below. I'm just going to showcase what the original one was and what I found and why it's so useful to me. For P1 to P2, I mentioned that all I knew to get there in a skill jump sense was to run at the side, thrust, and clamber up top. That, as far as I knew, was kind of like the only way to go from P1 to P2. I forgot that in Nova's advanced skill jump video for Truth, he included a jump that Diversity did that goes from P1 to P2, and how it works is you have to be at a full sprint and you run up the side like this and thrust in and clamber. And it's really useful. It's really obscure, and I've never seen anyone use it. In fact, I forgot about it. Even though I've watched that video before, I forgot about it. And the reason why I believe not a lot of people use it is because it requires you to be at a full sprint and sprinting up the entire side, and then you have to thrust back in, right? Like this. Okay? And when done, it's great, but there's a few deterrences. For one, you have to be at a full sprint when going at it. For two, you have to aim your reticle completely away from the direction you want to go. So you see at some point I'm actually looking up there, and then I have to turn all the way around, thrust in, and hopefully get it right to clamber. So now the reason why to me it's inconsistent is because you have to be sprinting up, and it just seems really knacky. And once you can get the hang of it, that's great. But to me, it's just not as useful, especially in HCS setting, because I have to be sprinting this entire time and then thrust in. So that whole time I'm on radar, right? I'm taking my eyes off the target, and overall it's a hit or miss sometimes. If you hit it at the wrong angle, it can really spell disaster. And for me, I even took an hour to practice it, and it still was kind of inconsistent. Now I found, just by accidentally doing it, you can actually sprint and thrust and go right up. And as you see, it is way faster, way more sudden, and really direct. And for a while I was doing the sprint, and if you see this like these circles here, it seems that that's kind of the visual cue of where to go and thrust. And if you notice, when I go up, I'm actually kind of turning my reticle into that, right? Also notice I'm doing a slide. I'm crouching, sprinting, thrust, crouch, turn, and then I'm spamming clamber as I hit it. And it's really fast. It's way faster than the sprinting, and it's a lot more sudden. Alright? And I'm hitting it every time. It's really reliable. I found this is why I think this is really valuable. I think this is what really sets it apart from all the rest. You actually don't have to be at a full sprint. You can be in a stationary position, and if you press sprint in once and take one step and then thrust, you get the exact same result, like this. I can be here, press sprint in, thrust, slide, and clamber, and I get there just as quick. And it's consistent and reliable. No one expects this. This is not a jump really ever seen. Normally the only one you get is up here, right? I mean, if I had to always be at a full sprint, it wouldn't be as useful, because then I'm kind of an open target. I'm not ready to fire. I can be in the middle of a gunfight over here, or even at P2, and he ducks in, and I'm at P2. While he's still thinking I'm somewhere down there. No one expects this, and it is very valuable and very consistent. Again, you're standing here. I'll say it at the speed at which I'm doing it. Sprint, thrust, slide, clamber. And it's just amazing. And now what's also useful is you can do it on the other side. The alignment isn't the same. You don't want to be standing here. You want to be a little bit off to the side. And to be fair, this is a little bit more difficult for some reason on the left side. Sprint, thrust, slide, and for some reason I think the angles are a little bit different. They're not symmetrical, so it shoots you out more easily. But it's definitely possible. It's not nearly as reliable as the right side, but once you can do it, you know, it's great. Another little tidbit real quick I wanted to share. So you can actually hit P3 with it if you do it right. If you see it kind of shot me out. This is going to take a lot of time and finagling. To me, you know, it's really something that right there. You can even do a little stabilize to save it, whatever. But I mean, just the options that are now at your disposal. However you want to do it. So again, right here, you can be in even a fight for camo. If they got it, you can just dip away and you're going. So I just want to share that with you guys. If you have any questions, if you need any help working with it, go and let me know down in the comments. I'll be more than happy to let you guys know, give you some pointers. So with that, I'm going to end the first in the series of the movement tips and tricks. This was just the mechanics. So on the next video, I'll go over my movement advice on different maps. So with that, hope you guys liked and enjoyed. If you did, be sure to subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.